Okay, these are raw notes looking at Bible works starting at 52:13 to see how the LXX is translating the Hebrew word for word. 52:13 irusunese opaismu. I'm not trying to pronounce it rightly. Ke upso thesete ke doxa sesete svodra. Well, that's pretty much the same as what the Hebrew says, but it's not trying to do it literally, but it is conveying all the meanings. So that's 52:13. 52:14. Hontropon extesonte epitepoli hutas adoxese apo anthropon to aidos su ke doxa su apo ton anthropon. Well, there's nothing really different there. That's Isaiah 52:14 in the Greek. Again, they're using the meaning rather than, they're not trying to match it word for word, but they are saying the same thing. Okay, so now we look at 52:15. Hutas tama sonte ethnepula epiaftoi kesun exusen baselis tus thaumazw oti hois uk anengelin. That's anangelo. Periaftu opsonte kai hoi uk ake koasin koasin sune susin. I don't know. I don't see that. Again, they're doing the meaning. They're translating the meaning. They're not trying to. It's not a word-for-word translation. Of course, word-for-word translations are rarely accurate anyway. But, you know, they're using thaumazw. That's accurate for shamimu. I mean, yeah, but it's not shamimu that they're translating. They're using thaumazw to translate yikpitsu. Well, that's accurate. Ethnepula. And it's using ethne, but it's also talking about the baselis, the kings. I don't know, maybe you guys see something. I don't see anything wrong in the translation of 52:15 that either inserts extra words. They're translating the meaning, but it's almost, you know, unless there's something special in the meter. And I did parse the meter in Isaiah 53.rtf, which will be in the video description. And maybe I didn't parse it right, but I tried to. I don't see anything in Isaiah 52:15 in the Greek which adds to the meaning in the Hebrew or takes away from the meaning in the Hebrew. And they also don't seem to be doing a word-for-word translation. They're just trying to translate simply into Greek the actual meaning that Isaiah is conveying. You know, the kings are surprised. No, sunexusin baselis tostoma. Well, that's pretty literal. Aftonati hois ane gelo. Well, that's pretty literal. Anangelo. means to make known or announce, and that's pretty good for supar. Periafto, aftu. It's not aftu, that's modern Greek. Periautu. Opsonte. I have this terrible habit of mixing modern Greek pronunciation with ancient. Auto. Opsonte kai, not k. K is modern Greek. Hoi uk. Ane koasin. Akuo, Akuo is a great translation for Shema. I mean, obviously. Sune Susin is a great thing for Hiponanu. So I don't see anything wrong there. All right. Now I'm on 53.1. Kurietis episteusin. Sorry about my bad pronunciation. Te akoi hemon ke o brachion kurio tini ape kalupthi. Apocalypto. That's pretty literal. 53.1 in the Greek looks pretty literal. Of course, it would be. You don't have a problem with idiom between Hebrew and Greek for that. All right, I don't see a problem there. 53.2. Anangelo. John uses that a lot, by the way. John makes a really funny play of that in 1 John, 1 John 1:3 or 4 or 5. I think it's 3 and 4. Anangelo. He makes a play on Isaiah 53 there. He makes a play between angelo and anangelo. It's very witty, but I digress. Anangelamen. I'm on Isaiah 53:2 now. Anangelamen enantion autu. God, I gotta get over that habit. Hos paidion. Hos risa. Enketipsose. Kestenaidos autoi udedoxa kai edomen afton kaiuk aiken aidos ude kalas. Looks like there's 53.2. It looks like they're translating meaning. It's not word for word, because I parsed this long ago. I don't know, if you see something, I don't see anything in there that's a particular huge divergence. It's pretty literal, but it looks like what they do is they translate it literally when they can, and when they have to diverge from that into an explanatory translation, they do. And it's pretty close to literal in Isaiah 53:2 again. So now I look at 53:3. Auto Timon Eklepon para Pantas anthropos. Oh, that's clever. Pantas anthropas pos and plagi. Plagi comes up again in the LXX of 53:10. Plagi honke. Aidos ferin. Yeah, there we go. Malachion, that comes up again. In, Malachion is the noun. The verb form, that translates daka in 53.5. Apestrapte. Ton prosopon, his face, up to etimaste. Keuk elogiste. Okay. I don't see anything there either. Again, what they're doing, they don't seem to be, I don't know that they're trying to translate it poetically. They do have some kind of, they do try to keep to 15 and 10 syllables, but it looks more like they're just trying to translate what he says, and they're trying to keep, again, literal when they can. Okay. So what this is leading up to, the reason I'm doing this, is 53.10 and 11 seems such a departure to leave out those words that are in the Hebrew from the Greek. And I'm trying to see if they do that beforehand. Okay, now I'm on 53.4. Hudestas hamartias hemon feri que peri humon hemon adunate kai chemis elogista meta aftonine and ponoi kai, not k, and plagi, there's plagi again. Kakose, that's a famous word. Kakoses is generally used often used for a sexual analogy, and Isaiah's making that, and they pick up on that there. And they often use that as to show like rape and stuff. It's a euphemism. It's in the noun. Okay, 53.4, I don't know if you guys see anything. I don't see anything there that's, no, it's almost literal. Okay, 53.4 is almost literal. So the pattern I'm seeing from 52.13 so far through 53.4 is that they go for literal when they can, and when they can't, they go for explanatory translation of the Hebrew. Okay, now I get to 53.5. Aftos et taumatitse tietas anomias hemon kai. See, there we go. Look at that. Aftos te atromatiste dietas anomias hemon kai. And then look at the next verb there. Okay, it comes from malakizomai. It's memalakiste. Memalakiste. Sorry, I'm yelling. Okay, that's used for meduka. Okay, malakizomai is used for meduka in 53.5. So why isn't it used in 53.10? Dietas chamatias hemon paidea, punishment. Irenis hemon epafton toi molop. Okay, then you got molops. All right, it's in the second part of it. It's paidea irenis hemon epi afton toi molopi. Molopi. Sorry. Aftu autu chemis iaftemen. Okay, it's using molops. Alright, again, it looks like they're aiming at as close to literal as possible, and when they don't get literal, they got explanatory. So it doesn't make sense why, why aren't they using, let me go back to 53.5. Why don't they use, malakizomai for daka in 53.10 when it's used here? It really implies that something's missing. Okay, now I'm 53.6. Pantes to probota. Epilanthetomen. Epilanet. Amen. Lanet. I can never say these words right. Eplanetemen. Eplanetemen. Anthropos. Theode. Autu. Eplanete. Yeah, planao, isn't it? Yeah. Que curious. Paredoken. Afton. Tes. Hamarties. Hemon. Well, that's literal. Okay, so 53.6, I don't see any departure there. It's a doggone near literal. Okay, now I'm in 53.7. Que aftos tia causa. I can't say that right. Que coste. Yeah, que coste. Okay, let me try again. Que aftos tia que coste. Uk anoige. Tostoma. Yeah, well, that's pretty literal. Hos provoton. Svagen, hecte, quejos amnos, enantion, tu querontos, I hope I'm not hurting your ears, tu querontos, auton, aphonos, stayed silent. Hutasuk noige tostomav tu autu. Okay, that's literal. 53.7 is literal, or as close to literal as possible. Okay, 53.8. Entepan. That's my favorite word. Tapeno. I'm looking at 53.8, and tapenose. Now see, I could probably use, I'm looking at the Hebrew and making a comparison. Now here, they're like in 52.13, where they did it interpretively, and they only used two verbs. It's kind of like he's subsuming here again. The translator is subsuming. In 53.8, they used only like two verbs for the four verbal concepts in 52.13. I think it's four. Yeah, four. But here, they concatenated it to two, which makes sense. I mean, because in the Greek, the two verbs meant the same thing as the four verbal concepts in the Hebrew. Okay, and so here in 53.8, they're doing a little concatenation again, because it's saying ente tapenose he crisis autu comes from iro erte tin genean aftu, yeah, but that's literal. Gesete. I can't say that word rightly either. Why is the Hebrew so easily to say, but the Greek is not? Diegesete. Okay. Tingineanaf to tis diegesete. Hoti. Arete apotis ges. Hezoe autu apotiton anomion tu lau aestanaton. Do you guys see anything in 53.8 that's not literal? The only thing I can see that's different is that actually it's not that different. Is at the beginning where it says in the Greek, enti tapenose que crisis autu ere erte. Okay, well, no, erte begins the next clause. So it's really enti tapenose que crisis. But it still conveys the same idea as me'atzerumi mishpat luka in the Hebrew. So I don't see any difference there. Okay, 53.9. Now they changed well, no, they don't. Y18 was time keyboard. That's Y18. No, it's in this. Okay, but this is a frequent problem in the LXX. I'm on 53.9 now. I don't know that you'd really call it a problem. It might be an idiom difference. In the Hebrew, it's third person. Y18 et resam kivro. Okay, that's in Isaiah 53.9's Hebrew. It switches to first person in the Greek. Kedozo. Alright? That's from didomi. That's indicative future active, first person singular. Kaidozo tus poneros antitis thafis autu que tus pleosius antitu Tanato after hoti anomian uk epoisen, excuse me, ude urete dolos and toistomati autu. Okay, well, 53.9 looks like it's literal. The only thing that's a possible big difference, but I've seen them do this before, I'm wondering if it's not idiomatic, is that the switch, the switch to first person. You know, in Hebrew it's Y18, from Natan, to give, Kel, imperfect, and that's in the third person in the Hebrew. But in the Greek, it's dozo, first person. But it is still God speaking. That's still the decree. So, you know, maybe it's just better in the Greek, more idiomatic, to switch to first person. But it still looks like it's a literal translation to me. So, I'm sorry, but I'm at a loss when we get to 10. Okay, 10 says kaikuras bulete katarisi afton tis plagis. And dote peri, you know, switching to second person again. And dote peri hamartias hi jesuke humon. Opsite sperma macrobion ke bulete kurios afelen. That's 53:10 in the Greek. Okay. It seems like it's a big departure from where Yehuah chafetz dako hicheli. The dako is missing. That should be, what was that, malakizumai. They should be using that, they should be translating daka, and it's not there in the LXX. Why? And then bayado yitzla, in the Hebrew, is not translated, it's skipped over. It's after sperma macrobion, and then there's like this gap, where bayado yitzla should be, and it's not there. And it goes to the next kaibulete kurias afelen. Now, I mean, I could try to argue, that afelen is used to translate yitzla, because afelen is what yitzla actually does. You know, I mean, it's two sides of a coin. But then bayado should be translated in there with care in the Greek, but it's not. I think this is a departure. I think there are words missing in the Hebrew. Okay, now we look at 11. By the way, 53:10, where it says Kebulete Kurios Afelen, that really should be in 53:11 of the LXX. Okay, 53:11. Apotupono tis sukis after dexe aftoifos. Okay, dexe aftoifos, yire yizba could be used there. Dexe is often used for ra'ah. Alright, so you could argue that the yireh and dexe are equivalents. Okay, so where it says in the Greek, apotupono tis tukis autu, dexe autu autoi phos ke place. Place needs to be translated into the Hebrew. I'll bet money that's missing. Que place tisunese, de kaiose de kayan. Oh, that's so clever. Eu de alunta polis que tasa metis auton, autas, anoise. I gotta stop listening to Greek TV. Okay. I'm sorry, but in 5311 words are missing in the Hebrew. They just have to be. Apotupono is me'amal nafsho. Well, wait a minute. Apotupono tisukis is me'amal nafsho in the Hebrew, so that's covered. Okay. No, wait a minute. Apotupono tisplayis autu is me'amal nafsho. Okay. Dexe autoi phos. Dexe could be from the yireh, so we can maybe rule that out. And autoi is not a problem. You wouldn't need that in the Hebrew. Phos, it's very clever in the LXX because of the dative that's being used. Because in the dative you've got the conduit, the concept of conduit and beneficiary. So, I mean, I remember BDAG, Bauer Danker lexicon being all concerned about this verse. They were saying, well, he is the light, so you're not showing the light to him because he already is the light. Duh, but he's also, because he's the light comes out from him. And I know that in the Greek they drop prepositions when they want to be very dramatic. Alright, and that's exactly what 5310 and 11 do, is they drop prepositions or using case endings instead of prepositions in order to focus on the drama value, because 5310 and 11 are climactic. And maybe that would explain why they're not using daka, but no. I'm sorry, I can't. I mean, maybe you guys can come up with something else, but I think these words are missing in the Hebrew. The Greek words are missing in the Hebrew, which are place and kataritse and aphelin. So it's kataritse, aphelin, and place in order of the verses. Dexe, we could argue, is there by yireh. Place te sunese. Well, bedato yatzdik, you could maybe argue that bedato yatzdik in the Hebrew is translated with place te sunese. Okay, because then you have but the trouble is then you have dekaiose. So I guess you could say place te sunese dekaiose is used in the Greek to translate bedato yatzdik in the Hebrew. And they are trying to be somewhat literal with it, because you see they're trying to catch on the same wordplay that Isaiah uses. Remember when he says in the Hebrew, bedato yatzdik tzadik adila rabim? Okay, you got yatzdik and tzadik right next to each other. So they're playing on that in the LXX when they're saying dekaiose dekayan in the LXX. So they're trying to catch it. I'm sorry, but I just have to conclude that there are words missing. It could be argued that place te sunese de kaiose is trying to translate bedato yatzdik. And then the kayan, you could argue, is in the heroic accusative. I mean, it's the object to make righteous anyway, but it's really talking about him being the righteous one. So it's in the heroic, you could argue it's in the heroic accusative, the Attic heroic accusative. Drama Greek. But that still leaves us, it would be smarter if I said Plaso was also missing. Alright, Kataritsi I think is missing from the Hebrew. It should be there. That would be Taher. Aphelin is missing in the Hebrew. That should be Sur. Plase ought to be missing in the Hebrew because that's yazzeh, and Isaiah uses surah and yazzeh an awful lot in his passage, in the whole book. I think he uses yazzeh about 30 times. Surah uses about 25 times. So Isaiah would use yazzeh here because it's a climactic passage about making kids. So I'm going to argue that plase is supposed to have yazzeh in there, so the words are missing in the Hebrew. Really missing. And Dexe, you could say that yireh is standing in for Dexe, so the Dexe is translating yireh. Maybe you guys can come up with something else, but this is what I'm getting out of it. And I'm trying to look at it fresh to sort of do like a double blind, being objective as if I had never done this before. Okay, now I look at 5312, and it's a little more repetitive than the Hebrew. Okay, I'm looking at 5312. We have the climactic, the thundering diatuto. Paul uses that a lot, and so does James, I think. Diatuto autos. Klerono mese. Polus kai, not K. Ton iskuron. Okay, mere. Sharing it out. Paul uses, oh, by the way, when you're getting in 5312, you see that word mere? M-E-R-I-E-I. Okay, just after askuron. Iskuron. Paul uses, that's from verb merizo. Paul uses that a lot. He especially uses it in 50, what is it? It's in Romans 12, I think it's Romans 12:3. And he uses it in Ephesians 4:16. And he's playing on Isaiah when he does that. One of Paul's big themes is that the sharing out of the spoils is to fulfill Isaiah 53:12. So do a word search on merizo in the New Testament, because he's not the only one who does that, but he is one of them. Diatuto of autos. Kleronomeste polus ke kai ton iskuron mere skula. That's a word for booty. Shalal is the Hebrew equivalent. And paredoste aistanoton Jesuke autu kai entois nomos elogis de kai autas hamartias polon anen. I can never say that word right either. Anengen. Can't do it. Yeah, it's on a pharaoh. Aorist, active, third person. Kai diatas hamartias afton paredote. Okay, do you see anything that's particularly different? And it's a little more repetitive. It's almost like I don't see enough different in 53:12 versus the Hebrew to say that there's any words missing. It isn't, however, the Hebrew, okay, the Hebrew is rather more dramatic. You've got, he suddenly switches to those 6 syllable things, Tahat asher heira, lamawet nafsho, wet poshin nina, wahu het rabim nasa, wala poshin mivki. You can feel the drama in the Hebrew. And it looks like they switch to explanatory. They don't try to put the same drama there in the Greek. But they're translating the meaning okay. I mean, they're basically repeating paradidomi. Maybe that's anaphora. You know, the threeness, repetition. No, they're not using that there. So, paradote, it's only used twice. Now, you know what they're just trying to translate what he means. They don't look like they're trying to do, unless, you know, I don't know enough about Attic Greek drama, rhetoric, and syllabification. But it doesn't look like they're trying to be dramatic. The only thing I noticed about 5312 that's of drama is that it's in 5310 and 11, they leave out prepositions, and then they pile them up. Look how many prepositions are in the LXX in 5312. You've got dia, anti, ice, in, dia again. Alright? I mean, there's almost no prepositions in 5310 and 11. And all of a sudden, all these prepositions appear. So, I saw that, but if there's more Greek drama technique being used in 5312, I'm ignorant of it. Maybe one of you guys will find it. So that's it. My conclusion is that the words are really missing in 5310 and 11. That the Greek is missing the Hebrew from the ka and yad and yitzla. And that could be easily done because bulete is repeated twice. So it's possible for the transcriber to have missed it. And that's why we needed both the Hebrew and the Greek text to see the whole Bible. You know how God preserves. He doesn't necessarily preserve it in one place, He'll preserve it in another. And if there's an error in one copy, it will be perfect in another for that verse. So that rule is being met here. It's just a question backing into what was originally in the Hebrew and what was originally in the Greek. I maintain that the Greek is missing the Hebrew equivalent, which is probably malakizomai, for daka. And for heheli, you know, malakizomai, you could use traumatizo for heheli. I'm not so sure that would be a good verb for it. And then for yad, you'd have to put in care somewhere. So I maintain that's what's missing from the Greek. And then it's just got to be missing in the Hebrew. Kataritze, that would be taher. Aphelin would be sur. And then it's somewhat of a toss-up on dexe. I'm going to argue that dexe is not really missing. It's represented by yireh. Maybe not, because that's in 5311. Definitely plaso needs to be translated into the Hebrew, and that's probably using yazzeh. And then it's a sort of a toss-up with it, you know, because fos is in the LXX, we can put or in the Hebrew, and since the Isaiah scroll already has or, then that makes sense too. And that is where I think I'm going to stand with it. So now the argument becomes the idea that Isaiah only intended 469 syllables is kind of shot down. First of all, I can't figure out what the extra 7 missing syllables would represent doctrinally as far as the timeline. But more importantly, the text that we've just gone through here really implies a departure from 5213 to 5312. We've seen a pattern of the translation being literal or explanatory. So why would those words be missing from the LXX that are in the Hebrew, given that pattern of translation? And by the same token, since that is the pattern of translation, then the words we don't have in the Hebrew probably were there. Namely, kataritze, failing, place, and false, if not dexe. So that's the strongest argument for saying that the words are actually missing. We've got some words in the LXX that are missing from the Hebrew, that need to be inserted into the LXX, and we've got some words that were in the Hebrew but are now missing from the Hebrew that are preserved in the LXX. And I don't know, that's got to be my conclusion, given the pattern of translation from 52:13 through 53:12. If you got something you're coming up with that's better, I'd be more than happy to hear it. Thanks a lot.